Can you see my screen, sir?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
1 minute.
Yes,
Yes,
Doctor.
sir. First slide.
Yeah, first slide.
Available, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Sir.
So how long we can have the first discussion? 45 minutes?
Singaravel,
Sir.
You can introduce the speaker and then we'll start the session.
Shall I start, sir, now? Introduction?
Yeah. Good morning to everyone. Yeah, Singaravel, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Welcome to all. Day 2 of FDP on Potential Research Area in Mechanical Engineering, which is organized by Vignan Institute of Technology and Science, Hyderabad. Myself, Dr. B. Singaravel, working assistant professor in Vignan Institute. So, I'm very happy to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Joseph Shekhar. Yes, Joseph Shekhar, currently working in Department of Engineering, Shinas College of Technology, Sultanate of Oman. Sir was graduated in Mechanical Engineering from GCT, Government College of Technology, Coimbatore, and completed his Master and PhD in the field of Thermal Engineering, Anna University, Gindi, Chennai. Sir has 30 years experience in teaching, research, and various administration positions, India as well as abroad. The Sir published more than 60 research papers in reputed journals. The Sir acting as a reviewer in different reputed journals. Also, Sir acting thesis evaluator and examiner in different popular universities. He has completed a funded research project worth of 16 lakhs from AICTE funded and acting co-investigator of UGC funded project also. Sir research area, eco-friendly refrigeration, biomass-based renewable technology for rural application and a PCM in cooling application. Under Sir guidance, 6 students completed his PhD, and Sir having membership in SAE, FIE, IST, etc. Also, Sir delivered various guest lectures in different countries like Germany, Austria, and Malaysian universities. And welcome once again, Dr. Joseph Shekhar, sir. Take over the session.
Good morning to one and all. First of all, I thank the organizers of this webinar. Also, I extend my gratitude to one and all for giving me a chance to deliver a talk on my research area. It's a very nice occasion where I can share my experiences with the young researchers. Thanks to all your efforts. Once again, good morning to all the participants. Today, I'm going to talk about the research potential in refrigeration and air conditioning systems. It's a very interesting area. You know, we have different fields in engineering. Among all the fields, the refrigeration sector has its own uniqueness. Because this sector links the various expectations of the people. Mainly, it is taking care of the comfort, safety, and hygiene living of the entire human race. That is the reason this field is growing dramatically, and it is being taken as one of the potential areas for the future development. Moreover, this is the field which can give happiness to the people, because this field is bringing the life of us simple and comfort. So this is a very interesting area. I'm very happy to share with you my knowledge in this one.
Sir, Joseph Sekhar, sir.
Yeah.
There is some echo is coming from your end, sir. Is there a speaker on at your end, sir?
Nothing. Let me see.
Sir, is sitting in a closed room. Sir, is sitting in a closed room.
Sir, are you sitting in a closed room, sir?
A little bit close, not very open. It's a big room.
Some echo is coming. That's why, sir. Maybe you can down your voice a little bit less so that the echo will be coming.
Then now it's okay.
Still echo is there, sir.
1 second. Maybe I can change the direction a little bit. How is it?
Still echo is there, sir. Let voice a little bit less. You can make it so that maybe we can continue, observe that thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Then I can reduce my voice a little so that it can be easily audible. Now the problem is, So my today's talk is organized in such a way like this. First, I'm going to discuss about the refrigeration sector, its importance, how it is taken as a very interesting area, the future challenges which it is facing towards developing this refrigeration and air conditioning in the coming years. This is what mainly I'm going to discuss in the beginning of my talk. There are different types of refrigeration systems available. I'm not going to discuss all those things. Only few points I will discuss about all those things, and I'm going to concentrate more on the vapor compression refrigeration system. Now, is it okay? Any echo is coming?
Sir, please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to talk mainly on the vapor compression systems. When we talk about vapor compression system and its research potential, we have to concentrate few areas, mainly the refrigerants, the various components, how we can focus our research in various components, what are the possible future trends in going for this research field, the future potential. So all these points I'm going to deal in this short lecture. Just for the understanding purpose, I would like to define what is refrigeration. Refrigeration is a process which transfers the heat from a lower temperature region to a higher temperature region. This is the difference between cooling and refrigeration. Normally, cooling means heat is transferred from high temperature to low temperature. But in the refrigeration, we are pumping heat from low temperature to a high temperature. So this is the basic difference. If you take the development of this field, we can understand how it is going to influence the future engineering. If you take the development of this HVAC market in the world, it was 91.3 billion US dollars a couple of years before, but today we are expecting a market share of 155 billion US dollars. One of the important areas of this refrigeration sector is the transport refrigeration. It is also showing a tremendous growth from 24.66 billion US dollars to 34.52 billion dollars in a couple of years. If you take the global air conditioning systems, especially in the residential sector, the current growth rate is 12%. So it shows that there is a good potential for the growth of the sector. If you take the Indian market, we have a market share of almost 4 billion US dollars. The current growth rate is around 7%. In a refrigeration system, we know we have only 4 components, but the business is more than 4 billion US dollars. Moreover, India is focusing towards food security, and the government is taking all steps to improve the cold chain. It is the one gives values to the produce of any farmer. Moreover, our country has a good population, and people are shifting towards urban areas, and many areas are now electrified. People are getting electricity from the grid. The consumer pattern is changed. A lot of industrial growth is taking place. All these things are contributing for the development of this refrigeration sector. Because air conditioning and getting a good quality food, getting a good transportation facility, everything is going along with the improvement or development in this refrigeration sector. Let me introduce some applications of the refrigeration technologies. First of all, if you take the food preservation, we know we need to get a good hygienic food without much preservatives. The only possibility to supply good food or hygienic food for a longer duration without any additives is cold preservation. Freezing and chilling are the methods which can supply food products without any adulteration. This pandemic situation, we know people are inside the house for longer days and they are preserving fruits, vegetables and other products inside their refrigerator for longer time. And they are preferring to eat the chilled food instead of chemically preserved food. We know chilling is a process which can reduce the metabolic activities of the food, and it is not doing any chemical activities. It is not killing the bacteria. It is just reducing the bacterial growth or any microorganism growth. So that's the reason it is a good process. Now people are preferring it, and everybody is trying to preserve their food in a hygienic way. Similarly, the food has to be taken from one place to another place without any spoilage. There also the refrigeration plays a vital role. So this is one of the important applications of the refrigeration. Then human comfort. Today, people are trying to be in a comfortable place. They want to maintain their room condition at a good temperature. So this human comfort is playing a vital role, especially the air conditioning sector, the manufacturing sector. So manufacturing is also an important area. Here, the growth of this area is mainly focusing on the involvement of this refrigeration. Today, many industries, they are working with the food preservation, food processing, food transport. All these things are there, especially in the manufacturing industries. Now, the heat treatment process or handling process, all those things, we need to provide a proper temperature. So this is very important there. Of course, you know, the development of electronics and computer, they are mainly depending on the cooling technologies. The components in these gadgets are producing a lot of heat. Therefore, it should be properly cooled for the efficient and sustainable operation of the component. Of course, the information technology, you know, the data centers, cooling is the major energy consuming part. And it is also a critical part. The cooling of data centers or controlling the temperature of in the data centers are very important for the development of this technology. As I said, transportation. Today, people are using the transportation system a lot, either in their car or in their any automobile. People are trying to find the air conditioning system. We can see now almost all the cars, they are coming with air conditioning. If you travel by train, people are preferring air conditioning. This is one aspect. Then transportation of goods. Almost many trucks now we can see with refrigeration. We can see on the road nowadays many trucks with refrigeration facility. Not only on the road, even transportation by sea route, whatever may be, now the refrigeration is playing an important role. Space application also, even though we are using many fuels, they are supposed to be cooled in a proper temperature so that the outcome will be good. Medical field. Many medicines are produced because of freeze drying and other operations. All these need a proper refrigeration. Even if you go to any medical shop, hospital, we can see there should be some place for refrigeration because the medicines are kept at low temperature to maintain their quality. Other things is when vaccines are taken for distribution, we have to maintain their temperature. So this is an important area where a lot of things can be done with the refrigeration. Let me introduce some of the refrigeration types. Air cycle refrigeration. It is mainly working based on the Joule-Thomson effect. It is mainly used in aircrafts. Thermoelectric refrigeration system. It is also working based on the temperature difference and the electricity. So it is used in some small devices. Ejector refrigeration system. Whenever there is a waste heat available, the system is applicable. Magnetic refrigeration system. This system is also used in advanced applications. When we are producing cryogenic fluids, this refrigeration system is quite useful. Another important and widely used refrigeration technology is sorption. Sorption, two types are there. One is absorption and other one is adsorption. This is one of the technologies which can use waste heat as well as renewable energy for many cooling applications. The main issue behind this technology is it cannot be used for very low temperature. Maybe if you go for a temperature of 4 degrees, 3 degrees, this will be good. If you go for -10, -20, absorption may not work. The second one is We cannot go for small systems. We have to go for at least a 50 TR system. Then only this absorption type of refrigeration is possible. Once people introduced a small scale absorption system, a refrigerator which was working with kerosene flame, but it was not working effectively and it was abandoned. There is a lot of scope for making smaller size of systems in this technology. The next one is the vapor compression refrigeration system. This is what I am going to deal today. This is a very interesting one. It has a lot of advantages. Today, wherever we go, we can see only this vapor compression refrigeration system in all applications, either in our refrigerator or air conditioner or in the big chilling plants, food processing plants, food storage systems, automobile air conditioning. Wherever we go, we can see this vapor compression refrigeration system. So that we will see in details in the coming slides. Moreover, we can classify the refrigeration systems based on different aspects. The size is large, it is 50 TR, 100 TR systems, we can say large scale refrigeration. Mainly, it is used in food storing warehouses. The supermarkets, they have big warehouses. The large scale refrigeration system is used, big hotels, shopping malls, all those places, a big system is used. Second one is the industrial refrigeration. Mainly it is for industrial processes. Many processes we need to maintain at low temperature. There we are going for this industrial refrigeration. In medium scale refrigeration, it's maybe in the supermarket, cooling and all those things. Small scale refrigeration, it is mainly used for domestic purpose. These are the sizes. Then if you go for the temperature, we have ultra low temperature. If the temperature is -80, -100 like that, it is called ultra low temperature. Mainly it is used for some vaccine preservation or in the medical field. Low temperature refrigeration, it is -60, -50 like that, mainly for preserving meat products, ice creams and so on. Then medium temperature systems are for air conditioning, water cooling and so on. So these are the different types based on their temperature. Then other one is the transport refrigeration. It has a different type of arrangement. So it is mainly taking part in the cold chain refrigeration systems. I'm giving you a small sketch which is stating the 4 components of a refrigeration system. Why I'm showing this picture is you should know how the system works and how we can implement our idea or our research interest properly in a system like this. These are the 2 components, heat exchangers. One is evaporator, other one is condenser. Evaporator is the one which is taking heat from the cold area, utility area. This is the one which is sending the heat to the environment. This is the compressor. Actually, it is the one giving power to carry out this operation. The heat is pumped by this compressor. An expansion valve, this is the one which is maintaining the difference in pressure. For that, we can get different saturation temperatures, proper condensation and proper evaporation. Okay, so this is a very simple component. So people may think that what is in it. If you take the original device with this type of simple components, you can see this picture. A lot of components are there for the efficient operation, sustainable operation, and the continuous operation of the system. We have devices to control the temperature. We have devices to control the pressure of the system. We have devices to control the safety of the system. So all put together, it is a highly complicated system. That is the reason we need a lot of potential I mean, we have to do a lot of things in this circuit. If you take the vapor compression refrigerant system, there are many factors which can influence our research. Various parameters. Okay, mainly the process taking place inside the system, the COP. You have to have a good COP. It should be more compact scale. This is the major advantage. If you compare the other processes, this one, the vapor compression refrigerant system, the process is very simple and the COP is very high. If you take the vapor absorption system, the COP is 0.8 or 0.6. If you take the air refrigeration, the COP will be 0.2 or 0.3. If you take the other type of systems, always the COP used to be around 0.5 or less than that. But for the same capacity or same operating temperature, if you go for the vapor compression system, the COP will be around 4 or 5. You know what is COP? It is the link between, or it is the ratio between the amount of energy given to the refrigeration system to pump a particular quantity of heat from low temperature to high temperature. So COP is good means with the less energy given to the system, we can pump more quantity of heat. So this is possible here, and comparatively this is very simple and compact. It can be manufactured in one place and easily it can be sent to other place. Anybody can operate it. Other systems, when we start the system, we have to use some procedure. When we switch off the system, we have to use some procedure. Otherwise, the performance will vary. But in a vapor compression system, it is easy to operate. Okay. And other thing is, if you go for the vapor absorption or other systems, there is a limitation. Some systems we cannot go for high tonnage capacity. Some systems like vapor absorption system, we cannot go for low tonnage. But if you take this vapor compression system, if you want to make a refrigeration capacity of 30 watts or 20 watts, it is possible. If you want to make a system of 30,000 watts, it is possible. So this is the advantage of this vapor compression refrigeration system. That is the reason, whatever maybe the technology is coming up, people are concentrating more on vapor compression refrigeration system. Now, I can discuss with you about the factors which can influence the performance of vapor compression system. Okay. Mainly, the performance of the vapor compression system is dominated by some parts. First thing is the refrigerant. The refrigerant is the one which is influencing the performance of the system because it is the fluid which takes the heat from the evaporator and it is pumping the same to the environment. Okay, so this fluid is the one which is deciding the main function of the refrigeration system, and its thermophysical properties, heat transfer properties, all those things are influencing the performance. And operating pressure. The operating pressure is directly related with the compressor power. If the pressure is more, we may need a compressor with high power. The pressure is less, we can work with a low power compressor. Then the pressure ratio. The pressure ratio has a good link with the volumetric efficiency. If the pressure ratio is high, because of the clearance volume issues, the volumetric efficiency will go down. By the total performance will go down. So we need to think about the pressure ratio. whether we have to keep at high pressure ratio or low. Because it depends on the refrigerant, all these parameters will vary. Then components. Many components are involved in the refrigeration system. So the behavior of the components, the matching of the components, all those things will influence the performance. Of course, the COP, end of the day, our main aim is to increase the COP. Sometimes the compactness, because when we purchase a refrigerator or air conditioning system, we don't want to waste our usable space. We need to have it in a small space. So this is the expectation of everyone. Then moreover, the aesthetic look. All those things are very important when we design or when we go for a vapor compression refrigeration system. If you take the research trends, now I'm coming to the research trends in the vapor compression system. Why we have to do a research? Why there is a good potential for future research? Which are the areas we can concentrate our research? Those points I would like to specify here. We can work with the working fluid. We can work with the working fluid. A lot of potential is available. We will see that in the coming slides. Then mitigation of environmental issues. Today, everywhere people are talking about the environmental issues. So how the environmental issues can be solved by using a proper refrigeration system. Everyone is claiming that the refrigeration and air conditioning systems are creating troubles or creating a huge impact on the environment. We will see to that also in the coming slides. And everyone is bothering about energy conservation. You know, since you are sitting at home, many people, they know now their electricity bill is very high. It is because of the continuous running of the refrigeration and air conditioning systems. In a house, normally the refrigeration and air conditioning systems, they consume the maximum power. Okay, so energy conservation is a prime objective. Due to the environmental issues, people are using renewable energy. So implementation of renewable energy in the refrigeration system also can play a major role. Of course, the controls, because we have to tune the system as per the requirement of the working space or requirement of the cooling space or requirement of the quality of the food product. So proper control is needed. Even though we have a good system, if the temperature or the humidity, they are not controlled as per the expectation, definitely it's going to be a failure. For example, if you are preserving vegetables and fruits, we have to maintain a proper humidity. If the humidity is very high, dews will form and fungus will grow. If the humidity is very low, again, a lot of evaporation from the foodstuff and quality will be lost. Likewise, flour preservation, meat preservation, all those things, proper temperature, humidity control is very, very essential. That will enhance the efficiency of the system. Then subsystems, many components, there also we can play something to get some stuff for our research. Okay, so these are the various areas, research aspect of any refrigeration system. When we go for a research, we have to think about three approaches. Normally, people think research means we have to find something new or something great we have to find. Not like that. If you are in a system, we have these type of three research approaches. One is adaptive research. Adaptive research means we can take some good technologies and incorporate the same in our system. We know if you take the refrigeration system, the performance of the evaporator can be enhanced by the implementation of different type of heat exchangers. The performance of the compressor can be changed by using a different type of compressor. The performance of the system can be changed by a different type of refrigerant. In that case, we can take those things. Sometimes we find some system is working somewhere else in a very good way. So that can be taken to here. So if some technology is taken from some other similar systems, And if it is implemented in your refrigeration system, it is called the adaptive research. Then developed research. So the existing system, we can improve their performance. For example, if you use some nano material, nano coating in the evaporator or condenser, you can improve some of the efficiency. If you use PCM materials as the cladding material, you can increase the efficiency. If you use some good insulating materials, we can reduce the heat infiltration and we can increase the efficiency. Okay, if you use some nanomaterials in the compressor, maybe we can improve the efficiency. So these are called the developed research. System components, we are improving their performance. We can go for a new research. Maybe we can use some new technologies for the cooling application. So that is called the new research. So one can think about all these three approaches in taking care of a research problem in the refrigeration system. If you take the issues, now we need to do some research in technologies because many factors are pressurizing us to do some research. We have all the system available. We cannot use those things as it is. We need to do something so that we can solve the issues in the future. The major impacts are environmental impacts. Every day the refrigeration technologies are changing and a lot of research is expected from us because the environmental effects. The environmental effect one is the global warming, other one is the ozone depletion. You know what is global warming, you know what is ozone depletion. Just for understanding purpose, I want to state a few things about what is global warming and ozone depletion. People usually confuse with these two. We know what is global warming because if the rays coming from the sun, the rays coming from the sun, if they are not sent back to the space in the expected percentage, the temperature of the atmosphere will increase because of the refraction or scattering, whatever may be. So if the greenhouse gases will reduce the escaping rays, and because of that the earth temperature increases and the effect you know. The ozone depletion is another one. It is a very critical one. We have to avoid it because it is creating a lot of health issues and other ecological issues. Main thing is the sun is sending a lot of UV radiations. The UV radiations, there are three types: UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVA is not harmful to us. UVB is a harmful radiation. Normally, it affects the health of a human being. It spoils the normal structure of the DNA. It reduces the human immunity. It may lead to skin cancer, sometimes eye cataract, sometimes the loss of vegetation in sea. All those things will happen. And that is the main thing. But the ozone layer, it is in the stratosphere. The layer, it is O3. The ozone layer, it stops the penetration of this UVB radiation on the earth. So if the ozone layer is good, there is no possibility for the UVB radiation or the UVC radiation to come to the atmosphere or come to the earth. When we use some refrigerants, you know, these refrigerants, they spoil the ozone layer. In the daytime, there will not be a problem because as long as UVC is there, UVC will generate ozone automatically. But when the night time, there is no sun ray. So there won't be any possibility for generation of ozone. So then during the night time, the harmful gases, they eat away all the ozone. I mean, they convert the ozone to oxygen. One morning the sun comes, there won't be sufficient ozone to stop the UVB. So directly the UVB radiation falls on the surface, it spoils the total ecosystem. So this is the reason we have to completely stop the ozone depletion, but we have to prevent our earth from the global warming. Okay, these are the two issues. Then other thing is the depletion of conventional resources, the need for energy efficiency, and people are very much bothering about their health, comfort, hygiene, all those things. So we need to tune our systems according to this requirement. That is the reason the research is very much needed in this area. So whatever happened yesterday may not be there today, may not be there tomorrow. So with that only we are going for that. So among all the components now, I am first concentrating on the refrigerant. What is refrigerant? It is a substance which is acting as a medium for extracting heat and taking it to some other medium or substance. If you take the refrigeration, development of the refrigerants, we can say 4 generations. Initially, before 1900, we are using many refrigerants like CO2, hydrocarbon, ammonia, water, sulfur dioxide, etc., etc. So many natural refrigerants were used. The problem with the natural refrigerants is they are not stable, their properties are very much different, and they are not reliable. A lot of issues came. So in 1928, first the new refrigerant was invented, that is CFC. The CFC is a refrigerant which is having high reliability. It has high reliability, it will not catch fire, it has a good efficiency. So everyone thought that the CFC is the best refrigerant and nobody can beat it. They started using the refrigerant for many applications, not only refrigeration. It is used in the fire extinguishers, used for medical field, quarantine agents. As quarantine agent, it was used. Even the perfumes, body spray, everywhere people started using this refrigerant. And in 1978, only people found that it is creating problem to the ozone layer and it is causing the ozone depletion. First, it was predicted by Rowland and Manila. It was not accepted initially, but later it was confirmed and people accepted it. Okay. Then they started going for new refrigerants. Those refrigerants, they should not spoil the environment in terms of ozone depletion. So they went for refrigerants like HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons. Many refrigerants were synthesized. These are synthetic refrigerant. Many types of refrigerants were synthesized based on the temperature, based on the pressure. They were synthesized, and people claimed that this is the best refrigerant. It will not spoil the environment in terms of ozone depletion. Later, in the 2000, there is a huge talk on the global warming. At the time when these refrigerants were tested, they had a high global warming potential. For example, if you take the global warming potential of CO2, carbon dioxide, it is 1. The same time, if you take the global warming potential of R134A, it is around 1,400. So the whole international community said these refrigerants are not good for the environment. We have to throw this out. We have to go for a new refrigerant. So there was a protocol called the Kyoto Protocol. Based on that, people started removing this refrigerant also. Currently, all our refrigerators, air conditioners, we can see these type of refrigerants. So in the future, people started working the new refrigerants. They are called the 4th generation. These refrigerants, they are not having any global warming issue. They are not having any ozone depletion issue. The main refrigerants are hydrocarbons, HF, hydrofluoroolefins, ammonia, carbon dioxide. All these are the new refrigerants. Already some refrigerants are available, but they were not used. But while using the new refrigerants, we have a lot of issues because they are not performing as good as these type of CFCs. They are sometimes not matching with the HFCs. So we have to tune our systems with the new refrigerant, or else we have to find a refrigerant which is suitable for a particular application. So this is the main area now. A second concept is the flammability. If you take these type of refrigerants, 600, 600A, 290, these are all hydrocarbons, they are highly flammable. So we cannot use in good quantity. In air conditioner, if some leak comes or some short circuit comes, the system will lead to a fire accident. So that is the reason we cannot use these type of refrigerants in big systems, or else we have to do some research to reduce the flammability problems. And now the HFO is coming up. It has a very low flammability, and it has a low global warming potential. It has no zero ozone depletion potential. So these refrigerants are now coming up, especially R1234, YF, 1234, ZT, etc. A good number of refrigerants have come up. At the same time, people are working on mixtures also. Okay, so this is the current trend of refrigerants. There's a huge potential to implement these refrigerants in the systems. In a nutshell, I can say that we have ozone depleting substances, we have global warming substances. This is a big threat to the life of the people, and this creates climatic change. So we have to work towards addressing these issues. So when we work on a refrigerant, or when we work on replacing a refrigerant in a system, we have to address these two major issues. Then only we can say that this refrigerant is good. Maybe we can get any substance which can perform well, but they should not create any ozone depletion. At the same time, they should not cause the global warming. Okay, the first thing. So to address this issue, many refrigerants are now available. So people are working with many mixtures, maybe with the HFC, HFO, or maybe with the HC, HFO. So combining different refrigerants, maybe it's a zeotrope or azeotrope. Why means if you have a system, we need to maintain the system at required temperature, at required pressure, at low COP. So these things can be obtained by selecting a proper refrigerant. So sometimes one refrigerant may not support us to get the right property. So if we mix two refrigerants together, we may get the right property. So with that intention, we are now trying to mix refrigerants. So when we start doing a research in the refrigerants, we can go for single substance, we can go for mixtures, we can go for mixtures with new refrigerants, we can go for mixtures with old and new refrigerants. Because if you take the CFC, the oil is one oil. Compressor, we use mineral oil. If you use the HCFC, HFC, hydrofluorocarbons, we use ester oils. So now we go for HFO, we can go for mineral oil or some different grade oil. So all these things can be properly addressed by taking a proper refrigerant pair or mixture, whatever maybe, then it can be a good research. So when we go for the refrigerant selection, the basic aspects of the refrigerant is its thermodynamic property, environmental issues, economics. Economics is also very important. At the end of the day, when we take the product to the market, the people should buy it. If it is expensive, people won't go for it. Okay, so we have to bother about it. When we design a system for a refrigerant, we have to take care of the thermophysical properties. We know what is suction pressure, discharge pressure, pressure ratio. All these thermophysical properties of the refrigerant should be properly studied. We have different other properties like ozone depletion, global warming, low equivalent warming index, toxicity, flammability, and chemical stability. The refrigerants to stable inside the system. It should be compatible with the materials, because if you use ammonia, we should not use copper, because the copper will the ammonia with the copper causes caustic embrittlement and system will fail. We have to use proper dielectric material. In the compressor, the dielectric strength is important. Otherwise, there will be short circuit, the system will not function well. So all these environmental aspects, these thermophysical aspects, environmental aspects should be taken care. So if you combine all together, see, all together properly, then we can find a good refrigerant. This is a very important research. Everywhere it is going on now. Selection of the refrigerant for a particular application. Okay. Then, how to select? What are the tools available? For example, if you want to study the refrigerant property, we can use a good software database called RefProp. It is a NIST database. It will give all the properties of the refrigerants. You can easily take from there and you can study. We have a lot of simulation packages. If you want to go for a core simulation of a system with a refrigerant, we can use MATLAB. We can use CycleD, CoolPack, EES. So many packages are available. Those packages can be used to simulate the system for selecting a refrigerant. Other thing is experimental study. If you have some system to go for experimental study, it is possible. Normally, I'm concentrating more on small scale systems. Yes, it is easy to conduct experiments. The experimental plan is very important. Now, different techniques are available to go for the proper experimentation. I will give you a few sample experimental setups so that you can understand. For example, if you want to go for a study, you may need a costly equipment like the flow meters, mass flow meters. Instead of that, we can go for a calorimetric setup. So likewise, we can compromise many things and we can do for good experimental setup. So these are the ways we can work with the refrigerants. The next component is the compressor. The compressor now, it's a very difficult area for doing a research, but some adaptive research can be done. For example, the current compressors, they are working with the constant speed. Now, the new technologies are coming up. We have the inverter type compressor, DC compressor. It can work with different speed based on the load. More the load, more the refrigerant flow, more the compressor work. Less the load, less compressor work. It is possible now. So existing systems, we can replace it with the new compressor and we can check. We can check with the DC compressors. Now, variable frequency drives are available. Variable refrigerant flow systems are available. So all these things we can implement in the compressor. Similarly, the compressor oil. Nowadays, people are trying to work with the nanoparticles in compressor oil, and some good results are coming up. If a researcher wanted to do something there, they can try. Next important component is the condenser and evaporator. So you can do some research in the condenser. Existing condensers, they are having the old types. We can change the condenser or evaporator. We know different types of heat exchangers are now coming up, like the plate heat exchanger, spiral heat exchanger, all those things. These heat exchangers are having good efficiency, good heat transfer property when we compare them with the current heat exchangers, mainly the air medium type of heat exchangers. So if you replace the existing heat exchangers with these type of things, we can find a drastic improvement in the efficiency, but some other issues will be there that you have to take care of it. Now, many places, air is used as a cooling or heating medium. Instead, if you go for water-based systems, the efficiency will be very high. Okay, so there is a possibility. Likewise, we can include materials, phase changing materials, nanomaterials, all these things can be incorporated in these condenser and evaporator so that we can have an improvement in the efficiency of the system, operating conditions of the system. So there is a good potential for doing some quantity of research by modifying the condenser and evaporator. Control systems, as I said, the control systems also playing a major role because we need to have a good temperature distribution. The temperature distribution is checked by CFD analysis. If someone wants to use the numerical methods or CFD programs, it is possible. It can be done in the transport refrigeration. done in our small scale refrigerators, air conditioning rooms. So many places it can be done so that the proper temperature controls can be done. Moreover, now many optimization techniques are coming up. People are using artificial intelligence, neural network, all those things to balance the component, to balance the system performance. Many papers are now coming up. If you happen to go through the International Journal of Refrigeration, we can see many papers in optimization. So you can use the optimization tools and we can work on it. Likewise, the insulation also, now new materials are coming up with less size, more efficient. So that type of materials can be tried. The next one is input energy. Now people are trying to use the solar energy for the small scale refrigeration systems. Already it is available, but still it is not very popular because it has a lot of issues. The solar energy is not stable. It is varying from one place to another place. Throughout the year, there is a drastic variation. And moreover, the solar energy is stored in the batteries. So the storage of the power is important. Whatever we get in 4 or 5 hours sunshine, that has to be used for 1 or 2 days. So storage of power. Moreover, we need to have a big system. Even though the refrigerator, the operation of the compressor is a small scale compressor in a household refrigerator, it is having a power of 150 watts. But when we design a system, we go for 1000 watts because when the compressor switches on, it takes a lot of starting torque, more power it takes. So how to balance? For that, we need to go for big systems. Then the economics. If you take so many parts, they are costly. So if you go for a simple refrigerator, maybe you can buy it for 6,000 or 7,000 rupees. But if you go for the solar refrigerator, it is expensive. So how to reduce? Today it is possible because now new technologies are there in the battery storage, new phase change materials are there. You can store the heat for those things. We can have the PV panels at low cost. So many things are coming up. So if you concentrate more on these renewable energy sources, definitely it is possible to come with many systems which can work more efficiently. All these are possible. We have to think about the economics. When we use renewable energy, the economics plays a major role, and balancing of components plays a major role. Today, the major thing is people are trying to use DC batteries, DC compressors. So without any inverter directly, it can be coupled with the system. So here, the inverter, that component can be reduced. Second thing is people are using now cold storage systems with PCM. That also can reduce the other storage device or requirement of battery. So it is possible. Okay. So now I am showing some of the setups. This is the one setup which is used to test a small scale refrigerator with different refrigerants. This is a setup for a vesicooler. It is tested with different refrigerants. This is a setup used for a deep freezer. All these components are not expensive. So if you plan your devices properly, without putting a lot of money, it can be fabricated. These and all, it was fabricated with a cost of less than 1.5 lakhs. This was fabricated around 80,000, 90,000 rupees. So if you use such systems, it is possible. This is a setup which was used to test the water-cooled condensers, how the water-cooled condenser can enhance the performance of a domestic refrigerator. This is performance of a water cooler. So we use different type of systems because different systems are having different operating temperatures. For example, if you take the bottle cooler, the evaporator temperature is kept around 3 degrees. If you take the refrigerator, the evaporator temperature is kept around -23 degrees. So this is the way it can be. This is the test rig we used to test a plate heat exchanger for air conditioning system. So we are able to find around 20 to 25% energy savings. even though some other complications are there in handling the water, but it is possible. So wherever it is possible, it can be. So in the future, we can compartmentalize the refrigeration systems, compartmentalize the air conditioning systems. One air conditioning system used in one place may not be similar to the one which is used in the other place. So we can provide solutions region-wise so that the efficiency will be enhanced. Okay, so now with this, I would like to discuss with you the future trends. In the future, we can see different type of refrigerants in the world. Even in the developing countries, underdeveloped countries, still CFCs and HCFCs are available. People are using it. It will be there. Many countries, HFCs are there, hydrofluorocarbons, even though they have high global warming potential, it is there. Only some developed countries, they reduced. All other countries, they are still using it. Even some countries, they are coming with the HCs. Some countries, they are coming with the HFO. Some countries, they are saying CO2. Some cases, they are insisting on ammonia. So all these refrigerants will be available. So we should know how to balance. So we should understand how each will perform and how can we improve the efficiency of all those systems. Okay. Then many technologies will be there. So we should know how to balance the technologies. Then and there, new technologies are coming up. See, last 3-4 years before, no one knows about HFO refrigerant. It has come now. Everybody started working now HFO refrigerant. Likewise, variable refrigerant flow compressors. People are working on it. Then the plate heat exchangers. People are working on it. Nanomaterials. People are working on it. So different technologies will be available. We should know how to take the technology, implement the same in our research. In that case, definitely it will be very much interesting. The other thing is now use of renewable energy. Many people, they are working with the solar energy, and a lot of research is going on solar energy and absorption refrigeration. They are working with the polygeneration. Heat and cold we can produce. Heat and power and cold we can produce from these systems. And people are working on Galena cycle. All these things are going on. I'm not going to deal those things. It is possible. If you are interested, it is possible. Now, vapor absorption system, vapor compression system also people are going with the renewable energy. Because now the compressors are modified and the storage devices are modified. PCMs are introduced. Because of that, there is a huge potential now available to use renewable energy in the vapor compression system. Apart from that, people are going for hybrid energy. For example, in big industries, if you have solar, wind, and biomass, all that can be combined. This is also a good research. Some places, the remote areas, we get different energy. One time, solar energy will be more. Other time, biomass will be more. So if you integrate all the energy sources, we can design a good system which can perform continuously throughout the year, and it will be economically viable. Okay, so the last thing is we have to go for storage systems. That is the main thing. Already I told many times, people are going for power storage. Instead, we can go for cold storage. The PCMs can store the cold and it can be used for a longer time. So this is the way the renewable energy sources can be implemented. A lot of scope is there for using this. So with this, I'm closing my talk. Now you can ask your doubts. Okay, thank you for your patient listening.
Singaravil sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you please ask questions?
Sir, thank you, sir. Dr. Joseph, sir, thank you for your information and regarding R&D research. Everything very nice presentation. Here we have few questions, sir.
Okay.
I will read one by one. Mr. Javed, there's a question asked from Javed, Mr. Javed. How much impact of HVAC in pharmaceutical manufacturing industry? HVAC, how much will give impact on pharmaceutical manufacturing industry?
Pharmacy manufacturing. Nowadays, people are extracting the drugs based on freeze drying. Freeze drying is a phenomenon that will take only the water particles without giving any loss to the original values, nutritional values or drug values. It is used. Then pharmacy company, for the many processes, we need to maintain low temperature. Okay, and that point of view, it is used. Hardly the whole industry, if you take the contribution of the HVAC in pharmacy is maybe around 3 to 4%, because it is a huge area, only 2 to 3%, but it is also having a lot of impact. When we are developing an area, we need to think about this. Some formations, we need to maintain a proper temperature. Otherwise, the process won't happen. So for that, they are all proprietary information, which is very difficult to get those exact information from the people. But from the talk in the Israel lectures and all, I came to know that there is a huge potential. Normally, 3 to 5% of the HVAC applications are applicable to the pharmaceutical sector. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Another question is, which refrigerant having low ODP and GWP values for better selection?
Which refrigerant has low ODP? Well, zero ODP. Zero ODP and GWP. Right?
GWP.
Global warming potential. See, if you take all the HC refrigerants, hydrocarbons, propane, butane, isobutane, almost all, and carbon dioxide, ammonia, HFO, all these refrigerants, I said now the fourth generation refrigerants I marked, all are having, maybe the GWP is 1 or 2, global warming is 0. Sorry, global warming is 1 or 2, ODP is 0. The fourth generation refrigerants I mentioned, all the refrigerants, the ODP is 0. Global warming is less than 5. So they are very safe. Based on the application, we have to select. If you go for supermarket refrigeration, food preservation, or fish, meat processing industry, it is better to go for ammonia. If you go for manufacturing ice creams, it is better to go for CO2. If you go for household refrigerator, better to go for R600A, or you can go for HF R1234YF. If you go for car air conditioning, it is better to go for CO2 or R1234ZT. So likewise, some refrigerants are designed. If you read the literature, you can easily find. Then you can define based on the application which one you can prefer. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Another question: how to incorporate RefRock with the CFD software?
Yeah, if you have the right license, in the CFD software, we can use subroutines to call the RefRock. There is a database. There are some linking programs are available. So if you put that linking program in your CFD analysis, for property calculation, see, when we define the property of the CFD software, some provision is there, linking with the other places, linking with the other files. If you use that option, and if you use a subroutine program for that, you can call from the...
For future reference. If you have permission, we will... Your PPT, whatever today now presented.
No problem, they can use it, no problem. I have no objection.
Okay, sir. Okay.
You want me to send a soft copy, or you will take it from your side?
Okay, sir. Very informative session, sir. Very thankful for your acceptance.
Okay.
Regarding very short time, you are accepted to deliver the lecture. On behalf of our institution, HOD principal, sir, I am very thankful to you once again for delivering this lecture. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Participants.
Okay, no problem. I will send it to a mail. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Contact, sir. I will contact you. Can send, then I will send to participants.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Devaprasad sir.
That's all.
That's all, sir. Shall we end?